Okay, welcome to part two of my series of talks with Sam Reeve. I'm Boyd Davis, CEO and co-founder of Payfederate. In our first session, we talked about inspiring confidence in compensation. And Sam, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Sam Reeve. I'm the founder and managing consultant of CompTeam. We're a boutique compensation consulting firm. Been doing this for many years, so I'm excited to see these advancements.
So our topic for part two of our series is doing more with less. Now, this is, maybe the most classic need for every employee in every organization is to figure out how to continue to do, more with less, get more productivity, create more output. But it feels like we're in a phase in compensation where it's more important than ever. A recent World at Work survey said that there's a shortage of compensation professionals. And I think the workload is going up more than it typically would just with a growing workforce or, the normal growth in the level of work. So I'd like to first ask, what is driving the increased demands on compensation professionals? And secondly, I'd love your thoughts on where can the compensation teams find opportunities for efficiency, both to get more done, but also, nobody ever joined human resources to play with spreadsheets, right? So it's not a very, very rewarding part of the job to do some of these tedious things. So I'd love to know what's driving the increase, and then maybe what should organizations think about empowering their compensation teams more?
Right. Well, definitely the things that are driving the amount of administration and compensation is just the past few years, we've had a huge change in the way we work. And so it makes us rethink of how we're applying the old rules to the new environment. In addition to that, we've had pay transparency regulation, not just here in the United States, but around the globe. And so there's an increased amount of regulation that is driving this. So there's much more focus on pay fairness and ensuring that compensation or companies are managing compensation appropriately. And so that's what's taking up a lot of time. And so there's more being asked from organizations or comp professionals as far as ensuring that they're benchmarking jobs fairly and consistently, that we're modeling scenarios to make sure that we're making the best use of our budget dollars, and that we're managing information in a fair and also a data protected way, so that we're using data responsibly. And so that's all critical aspects of what's driving this increased administration and comp professionals.
What are the biggest opportunities you see for people to streamline it? Because I think one of the other things I see is that the data is changing. You used to be able to, and the pace is changing. You used to be able to, maybe get your survey updates once a year. Many organizations even less frequently than that. But now the jobs are moving at a different pace within different jobs. And the kind of data that's coming out, there are organizations out there that are, moving from the old self-reported crowdsourced data into more viable forms of real-time data, like stuff coming directly out of the ATS systems with offers, or people that are taking all of the range data that is existing now in these new job postings and building credible data sources, not usually to replace the surveys, but definitely augment them and put some context around them. So it feels like those increased data sources are another driver of the workload, but what's a person to do about it? Where do you think are the biggest opportunities to drive more efficiency?
Well, here's a big opportunity. It's not really of any surprise because it's been around for quite some time. Is as HR practitioners and comp professionals in particular, for some reason, we like to hug that spreadsheet program tightly, and we use it every day. And of course, those spreadsheet programs do have their place. But for us to be able to keep up with the amount of modeling and looking at the market. We need to use more sophisticated tools to do that. Now, as you mentioned, Boyd, there's more sources that are available now. It used to be that we subscribed to these top-notch published surveys and we could hang our hat on that. But now we have our employees coming to their manager and saying, hey, I saw this posting on one of your competitors and it's paying the job that I'm in higher. So they're bringing these questions and they're challenging. So now compensation and HR professionals need to take a more rigor in their process, not only looking at those professional surveys, but external market survey or external market postings and other sources to ensure that they're on the top of their game.
Yeah, thanks for that, Sam. And I'd love to share with you some of the things we're doing to drive efficiency into the process. I'm going to share my screen here. And in part one, we showed the range manager. So I feel encourage everybody to go back and look at that one. But I want to zero in on a couple of items. One of the things you mentioned was scenario planning. And this can be quite difficult. So one of the things we've done is we've made it super easy to go in here. If this is a published range, this is the range people are actually using. What you can actually do is go in and create a scenario to copy your current range. We'll call it tech copied here. And when you just go to that, tech copied, I'll save that. Now, if I want to go down here, I have a blank sheet that I can start to work on. Get rid of that one. And now I can start to work on this range. I can look at it in a table view. I can start to consider doing a shift. Maybe I want to do something as simple as a 3% shift across the board. Maybe I want to go in and edit a range. I can actually edit the min, max, or you can actually select columns over here, do the midpoint differential. All of a sudden you have all those kind of things that would require some spreadsheet actions. You have them at your fingertips. Now, the other thing I want to kind of highlight, if I go back, I'm going to go back to our published range here, is maybe you want to dig into an individual job. Table view, graph view. Now refresh this. If you go back and take a look at a given individual job, let me take a look at this. I'll just zero in on the jobs. And you can actually take a job like this one, and let me move my screen here, and then dig right into a job and start to see what is the range for that job. You can actually go through and see similar companies that are maybe your talent competition. You can dig into the job description and see some key insights about a given job. So now all of a sudden you can bring in that real-time data, and we'll have a number of partners that are going to provide their own real-time data, in addition to being able to take whatever survey source that's yours. We're not a data provider, but we'll take whatever data source you have and put it into the context of the real-time data and your employees and your internal ranges, and allow you to create scenarios. So these are just one of the things that we have. But the other thing I want to show is that one of the things we haven't talked about in our series yet is artificial intelligence. And I think there's nothing bigger that people are talking about than how AI will affect everybody. Now, I want to say I've been in technology for over 3 decades. I actually have a deep experience in AI and machine learning. And I can assure everybody that AI will never replace the human in HR. I just don't believe that is a viable scenario. But on the other side of the coin, every professional should be figuring out how to leverage AI to its maximum advantage to be able to focus their creativity, their humanity, their the personality that drives real connections with people. It's a huge, wonderful tool. And it's really, really important to put it into the workflow. So that's what we've done. What I'm going to show here is one of the nasty jobs that is those tedious jobs that I talked about before, which is you have a new position or a new survey, and you need to map the job that you have to a survey source for benchmarking. Now, you can go with job titles. Let's take a look here. We'll pick a location. So what do you know about your engineering senior director and Radford's general top engineering E1, right? Those titles don't tell you anything. You'd have to, if you wanted to match these jobs, you'd have to take a look at all of the jobs. Even when you sit through the architecture, you're still stuck reading through these job descriptions and trying to find a match. Now, there's no substitute for your judgment when it comes to matching jobs, but why not let the new natural language processing technologies, a form of machine learning and AI, why don't you let it take the first shot? So maybe you can find that match on the first guess. So we built an engine that's very much focused on extracting the relevant data from the job description, all of the text, all of the parameters, we pull it out and we find what we think is going to be the best match. And then you can read through and figure out if it is a match. And of course, if it's matched, then all of a sudden you can map the job to your job architecture. And then you can even go in and price that job directly. So a combination of scenario planning with all the traditional tools that organizations use, and then this job matcher. We also have an opportunity to create a new job using generative AI. So we've infused AI throughout our product, not to try to automate things, because AI should never automate something as sensitive and critical as compensation. You should absolutely be able to leverage it so that you don't have to do all of those tedious tasks that computers can do for you. So we're huge believers in freeing up the time for compensation professionals to focus on those things with the high strategic impact, to use their experience and their professional training to really guide an organization to execute the best compensation strategy. And let software do a lot of that heavy lifting so that people don't have to wrangle spreadsheets and then figure out how to communicate and visualize. So thanks a lot again, Sam, for your, let me pause here for a second and just see what your feedback is on some of these time-saving tasks.
Well, the thing I was going to tell you, Boyd, for compensation practitioners to be relevant, we need to be able to and be competitive with others to make sure that we're on the top of our game. We have to adopt these sophisticated tools. If we're sitting next to one of our peers and they're leveraging these tools and they're getting the job done in a fraction of the time, we really need to think about how we can up our game, and these tools are what's necessary to be able to do that. We need to embrace the future.
Yeah, and I think, I know you work with a lot of customers who have a lot of different needs. Our software is targeted at, what I think of as mid-sized organizations, those companies with, or organizations, doesn't necessarily need to be a company, but organizations with 100, 200 employees on the low end where you really need to start thinking about compensation, all the way up to several thousand employees. There are other wonderful tools out there for different requirements in the marketplace for very, very large enterprises and so forth. But I think the key is for organizations to take a look at what's out there and figure out how to adopt the modern tools and how to work with companies like Payfederate that are committed to leveraging AI ethically and in the workflow, and to empower people. And I think if organizations look for tools like that, they'll have an opportunity to manage an ever-growing workload with resources that don't grow at that same pace. So thank you for your insights and your time. This is part 2 of our 3-part series. Part 1 was inspiring confidence in compensation. We've covered how to do more with less, and I encourage everyone who's interested to look at our next topic, which is how to hire with offers that fit. For Sam Reeve, I'm Boyd Davis with Payfederate. Thanks for joining us.